And I welcome everyone who's here. We're very excited to get to share this with you today. And we know that you have very busy lives and that you've taken time out to do this. And we expect that many people who signed up for this webinar are going to get the recording, and that's just fine. So we are glad you added us to your busy day, and we'd like to support your work as professionals working with parents. And if some of you who are on this call are parents and not professionals, we welcome you totally as well. And we want to give you tools that you can use at work and at home. And so I'm going to talk just a few minutes about hand in hand and while everyone's joining, and then we'll begin our webinar on the topic of hand in hand for professionals. So my name's Shelley Macy, and my co-presenters are Maya Coleman and Pam Oatis. And a little bit about Hand in Hand. We're a nonprofit organization based in California with instructors all over the world. It was founded 32 years ago by Patty Whiffler to share both her tremendous respect for parents as well as her insights about the emotional needs of children, which are based on many, many years of real life experience. And we're also research-based. Hand in Hand is a valuable resource for parents and for professionals. And the three of us are here because we have used it in our professional capacity as well as parenting. So we bring lots of valuable information, tools, and support to back the work that you do supporting parents in this work that's most important to them. We know that the work of supporting parents is often done in isolation. We are the teacher or the therapist or the pediatrician, and Hand in Hand is a way of building connection for us as professionals, and certainly it's a tool for building support for parents. We have a variety of resources, both free and pay those with fees, and we would love to share this vast resource with you. Excuse me. Today, we want to especially highlight our 8-week professionals intensive that provides a thorough introduction to supporting parent professionals and to use Hand in Hand in your practice. And you can find all these tools through the website. So there are 4 main ideas behind Hand in Hand. One, that parents need and deserve support for the emotional challenge of parenting. Parents can build that support and have much more success meeting their own needs and their children's needs. Number 2, children are born to feel connected to us. So the sense of connection is what they need in order to learn, to grow, to build friendships and resilience and confidence. Number 3, when children don't feel connected and their behavior goes off track, and they signal to us that they need help, and the disconnection, we get a chance then to work with. And number 4, when we foster laughter and play without tickling, when we set limits without harshness, and we support children to have good, hearty cries and tantrums, it helps children feel more fully connected to us and helps them leave difficult behaviors behind. And I'm going to add a 5th idea, and that's for us as professionals. Hand in Hand helps us to partner with parents, to be the kind of support we want to be in helping parents be the parents their children need. Parents get to feel successful as they love and raise their children, and children thrive on the love their parents and caregivers have for them. We as professionals get to see the fruits of our work blossom. Okay, I think probably everybody who's signing on today is here, so we'll start with today's presenters and seminar. I'll introduce myself and let my colleagues introduce themselves, and then we'll begin with our topic of sharing hand in hand for professionals. So my name is Shelley Macy. I'm an educator. I retired after 27 years as the lead faculty at Northwest Indian College, a tribally controlled college here in Washington State. And before that, I was a preschool teacher, a family childcare home provider. And after I became a parent, I was the teacher in a parent co-op preschool. At Northwest Indian College, I taught and actually developed so much of the program, all the courses, well, most of the courses. And in the degree program, the Child Development Associate program. Also in the paraprofessional, we had a 3-course certificate program, and in the parenting program there. I incorporated the tools of hand-in-hand parenting and this approach in every course, whether it was how I treated my students or what I was teaching them about children and handling the things that happen with children. And of utmost importance in my life are my 2 adult children and my 4 adult stepchildren and my 9 precious grandchildren. So I want to turn this over to Pam and Maya to introduce themselves. Let's see.
Thank you, Shelley. It's a joy to be here with all of you today. And my name is Pam Oatis. I am in Toledo, Ohio. I'm a pediatrician, and I've used these hand-in-hand tools throughout my entire career. I have done inpatient and outpatient primary care medicine. And I am also the mother of 3 adult children, 2 sons that are adopted. Our eldest and youngest are adopted, and our middle son is a foster child who came to us in 2nd grade and with whom we are still connected. So thanks to you, Maya.
Thanks, Pam and Shelley, and really thanks everybody for being here. It's really, really great to have you here. I am in Washington, D.C. and live with my spouse and our 15-year-old. I'm a clinical child psychologist and have been working primarily in private practice with parents of young children, primarily birth to 6, and am recently in the program director position at Hand in Hand. So moved from private practice into this position, but I'll be talking today a little bit about what these tools looked like and sort of what my practice looked like before now. So thanks for being here.
All right, Maya, I think you're going to talk about hand-in-hand sort of.
Yes. So what we wanted to do first is give you kind of a quick moving overview of the 5 concrete caregiving teaching strategies that make up the hand-in-hand approach. So probably for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'll just be passing on sort of information, but then you'll get to hear from all of us about what this actually looked like in different settings. So all of the tools that we're going to be talking about are called listening tools because they provide structured ways to offer connection and listening to build relationships with children. So the first tool, special time, is a structured one-on-one time with a child that builds a foundation of connection and increases cooperation. So to implement special time, you just set aside a specific period of time. Usually, in a classroom, it might be between 2 and 10 minutes to focus your complete attention on one child and to follow their lead in play. So first, you're naming this time. You can call it special time. You can call it you're the boss time, kids rule time, and you announce how long it will be and where it will take place. So we're going to do some special time. During special time, we can play whatever you want to play. I have 3 minutes, and we can have special time in the dramatic play area. And then you just set a timer. You let them know that it's special time, and during special time, you just play whatever the child would like to play. You do what they're doing, you follow their instructions, you notice and comment on things that you appreciate about them. You just let them know how much you enjoy spending time with them. And you try not to ask anything in the form of a question. So even try not to ask what they want to do in special time. You just say, it's special time, and you see kind of where their mind takes them. So when the timer goes off, you let the child know special time's over for now. You tell them you enjoyed playing with them, and you let them know if you'll have another special time planned. So then you build in a little bit of time after special time. We recommend, 2 or 3 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes in a classroom, during which you can listen to the child if they have feelings about the end of special time, or if they show any kind of off-track behavior shortly afterwards. And this is when you're using the next tool, stay listening. And stay listening is an approach that helps you anchor a child during high emotion. And it supports them in offloading stress, tension, upset through the emotional reset processes of crying, tantruming, trembling, laughing, yawning, talking. So when a child becomes upset or does something off track, you just come physically close. You offer physical connection and support as you're able. You pay attention with eye contact, and you just listen while allowing the child to express their feelings, to have them. So most of your support here is nonverbal, but you can offer just some reassurances that you're present, you're listening, you'll stay with them while things are hard, you'll keep them safe. And you can set limits here on any aggressive or kind of unsafe behavior, but otherwise, you're just kind of setting aside the strategies you might tend to use for just a few minutes. So if you would typically go to, rewards or consequences or negotiation or verbal processing, use your words, and you just try to listen while the child has a few moments to have and express their feelings. So you may not have much time to stay listen, before you need to kind of move the class on to another activity or whatever your setting is, before something else needs to happen. But even a few minutes of emotion having before moving to emotion regulation or kind of other activities is really helpful. So I mentioned the third tool already, actually, which is setting limits. And setting limits is an approach to off-track behavior. It's a 3-step process to address behavior while keeping the connection strong. So during this 3-step process, which is listen, limit, listen, you first, in the first listen, you kind of notice what's happening. You assess the resources, limitations of the setting, of your own attention, and you think about what kind of limit might be most helpful. So like a firm and quick safety limit, in response to aggression, or just a calm and confident statement about an expectation, or playful limit setting. So you're just taking stock of your own resources, time, energy, attention, and support from others, who's available there to take care of other things to back you up. And then the second step is you're setting that limit. So for example, oops, I can't let you throw that toy. And you hold that limit as the child reacts to it. So, if they try and run away with the toy, you're placing your hands on it and you're saying, whoop, I'm going to hold this toy right here to keep everybody safe. And the third step involves listening to the child as they express their feelings about the limit, or they express the feelings that were driving the off-track behavior and making it hard for them to cooperate with you or kind of reasonable expectations. And that third phase, the second listen, is actually just stay listening there. The other play-based tool, in addition to special time, is called play listening. And play listening is when you take the less powerful role in play and you promote laughter without tickling. So, on the playground, it might take the form of physical play. So chase games where the adult is kind of slow and bumbling and can't can't catch the kids, or, you know, they're chasing you and you can't get away. It usually involves the adult like making some kind of mistake, doing something ridiculous, being roundly defeated in play while, you know, the child is laughing, and just explores being in the more powerful role. And play listening can happen anytime. So it can happen in special time. You can kind of take that role, but it can also spontaneously happen kind of during regular playtime with groups of kids. It's not necessarily a one-on-one tool. But you can also use it as a strategy when a child is like hesitant about something or having trouble playing cooperatively. So play listening builds a child's sense of confidence and competence, and it just builds flexibility and cooperation with you, that actually tends to sort of generalize to interactions with their peers, with, you know, in kind of the wider classroom. So then the fifth tool, a listening partnership, is a support tool for the adults in a child's life. And a listening partnership is a structure through which you and another adult, another teacher, another therapist, another parent can provide support to each other for the emotional work that you do in supporting children and caring for children. So you and another adult just take turns listening to each other for a set and equal amount of time. You know, often this can be 10 to 20 minutes for each person. And during your time as a listener, you just listen attentively without interruption, without questions, without advice. You're really just listening. And then you switch and your listening partner listens to you. And when you're being listened to, you can use that time to talk about, to have feelings about anything that's on your mind. You can just notice how you feel. You can express any emotions you have. You can talk about, you know, tricky things you're trying to figure out. And what someone shares during listening time, it's not shared with others. It's not referred to by the listener, even later to the person who shared it. So it just really stays right there. And listening partnerships can happen in person, by phone, through video conference. They can be arranged with people you know, with people who are not in your day-to-day life, but, you know, who've learned about this tool and want to try it out. Often that's really helpful to say, get connected with another teacher who may not be in your particular school, or, you know, to get connected with another therapist who's not in your community, you know, to exchange listening time. So anyway, that was a quick intro to all the tools. We just wanted to, you know, give you an intro, but really we want to share with you how we've used these tools in different professional contexts. What does it look like, you know, to use stay listening in the classroom, to use play listening in the doctor's exam room, to use special time in a therapist's office. So we will move into just sharing those experiences with you.
So Pam, would you share first?
Gladly. Thank you, Shelley. And Maya, thank you for that beautiful synopsis. Well done. So yes, I've been a pediatrician both in the hospital and in the outpatient setting, probably more primarily in the outpatient setting than the hospital, but I've done both. And I will say that connection, the underpinnings of everything that Hand in Hand stands for and aims for, was the lifeblood was and is the lifeblood of my practice as a pediatrician. That my connection with parents, my connection with the children, and my ability to foster connection between parents and children when those connections can get frayed, really has brought the joy to my pediatric practice. I never got burned out. I've never been burned out as a pediatrician. And and I've been doing this for over 30 years. My practice has shifted and changed with a variety of foci, but I've been doing it for over 30 years and it still brings me great, great joy. So my connection strategy begins when I walked in the room to a family that I've known or a family that I've never met before. And I start with an appreciation of that parent, something specific. They were there on time for an appointment, not a small thing. Their baby is well fed, whatever it is that I can know specifically about them to appreciate them for, which shifts our relationship to one of respect. And my goal is respect. My goal is to show caring and to build a mutually respectful, compassionate relationship. And then I listen. Then I listen to how they're doing. How's it been? I listen to the upsets. How's it going managing asthma? Congratulate them for their child not having been hospitalized for asthma. Those are not small things. And as I listen, I can be observing lots of things about the relationship, and I can be also building the same trust and mutually respectful relationship with a child that's in the room, depending on how verbal they are. So listening is the foundation on top of the connection. And then certainly stay listening is one of the big tools that I use in my practice. Certainly my goal is to not initiate tears, but tears often happen in an exam room. Shots are anticipated. And when the tears happen, my response is to congratulate the parent, which always surprises them a little bit. But I congratulate them for their child feeling safe enough with them to be able to show this, and that it's a really good sign. And I model paying attention, not being in a hurry, and not distracting, but listening and hopefully keeping them close physically together. And then I often ask the mother and or the father, eye to eye, we're usually pretty close, what would it be like if someone had listened to you when you felt scared or sad or upset? You felt like something hard was happening. How different would your life be if someone had listened to you? And sometimes they get tears in their eyes. There's a aha moment there, that the tears actually are a healing and connection building experience for them and their child, as well as for me, that it's all three of us. So stay listening happens on a regular basis, both in the hospital and in the office. And play listening is another one that's just, I don't know, it's just fun. I mean, when I'm in the office, I sort of have this feeling that I'm at an open house, and I don't know who's going to show up. The schedule's filled, but it's an open house to be able to visit with and be with and enjoy families, whatever the circumstance is. And so again, it's following the child's lead in me being willing to be silly, me being willing to not know what color something is. Well, but of course this child knows their colors, but I'm not sure. I thought this was green. No, it's red. And no, I get to be the one who's not so altogether smart. They get to laugh and feel empowered and confident, and it builds my connection with them and with their parent. The parent can see them being smart, and me appreciating and enjoying them as a young one. So, and I will never forget a boy who used to hide. He was, I don't know, he was, I think in preschool, and he'd hide. Well, there's no place to hide in an exam room, literally no place. But he delighted in the fact that I couldn't find him. You know, I looked in the wastebasket and, oh, I wish I could find him. I'm so looking forward to seeing him. But where is he? And meanwhile, he's laughing and laughing. And at some point he jumps out, you know, right in the middle of the room. And, you know, these things don't need to take half an hour. It's, you know, a minute or two, which it just shifts everything. So we all get to laugh. And special time, I have not figured out how to do special time in the office because of timing and, you know, what is there to do in there. except no, you can't touch that and no, you can't touch that. I mean, we have enough of that going on with things that they want to grab. But I have done it in the hospital. I do it in the hospital, very definitely. And a child who's bedridden can do special time. And I talk about special time for parents and children, and I describe it. I write prescriptions for it, and ask the child what they might like to do, and watch the parent's face fall or get excited. I want to climb that tree, and then I get to talk with the parent and say, well, what would it be like to climb that tree? Oh, go climb that tree. And I get to express my confidence in their willingness to try and get enthusiastic, and eventually we all get to be laughing, and it has shifted relationships and this is for every age, from toddlers through teens, really, especially with teens, for parents to be willing to try that even, can make a huge difference. And last but not least, I probably should have said this first, is listening partnerships. Without them, we don't even want to go there. We don't want to talk about it. I have a dear husband now of 44 years, and I can't imagine we'd still be married. I'll put it that way. And we are, very happily. I do listening partnerships most days of the week. I have some exchange of listening with someone. And the more I do, the more fun I have, the more relaxed I am, the more good ideas I have. I mean, a miserable problem turns into oh, this could be an interesting thing to try. So it lifts my worries and my fears. I sleep well at night, and it helps me enjoy my life. I'm more me with my listening partnerships. So yeah, I could say more, but I'll turn this over to Shelley, I think, right? Shelley, are you next?
Sure. Sure. Thank you, Pam. The thought of getting a prescription for special time is like, oh, how thoughtful. Anyway, thank you. That was wonderful. So I love sharing hand in hand with educators and with anybody who will listen to me, actually, but anyone who works with children and families, because it's so sensible and it allows us to get to be the parents and teachers and kind of do the professional work we signed on for when we decided to do this. So I'll share a little bit of my experiences, and I warmly invite you to learn about these tools yourselves. I think I said first I was a Montessori teacher, and that was before hand in hand. And oh, I would have been a much better teacher. Then I operated a family childcare home, which was also before hand in hand. And I had a child who came for months. She stood at the door and cried for her mother. And I tried everything I learned in my Montessori training and other advice and books and everything, and distracting, finding things to do, blah, blah. And it took her months, but eventually she cried her way into seeing that things were okay. And that taught me something about the brilliance of children, that you can try everything, but they need to do this work. And then when I was I was center-based childcare, and I learned this tool, the first big aha came to me in a listening partnership. I was furious with the administration of my child care center, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And actually, the person who taught me had been a single parent, and she wanted child care providers to have these tools. Anyway, I went to my very first listening partnership, just sort of like a powder keg, and sat down and was, going to be very professional. And I was given the opportunity to say whatever I wanted for, I think we had 45 minutes each. It was amazing. And I just started talking, and then tears started flowing. And then I started to be angry about things. And my listening partner put a pillow on my lap, and I was able to just pound it. And she encouraged me to say things I would never say in person to my administration. And it's like my brain was just gradually clearing up. And I had never had anyone give me permission to cry like that. And I'd always been told I had a terrible temper, so I was supposed to keep the lid on. And I didn't have to for 45 minutes. I mean, that was immense. And I felt better afterwards and went home. And the next day I went to work, and my boss commented on how relaxed I looked and what a pleasure it was to work with me. And I was astounded because we had been like this. So we went on for the next many weeks and months to really improve the situation at the child care center, listening to staff as well as to the administration. So I was sold. And it also meant that I fully understood what a good thing it was to listen to children when they cry. I mean, if you could feel that much relief from a big cry and a tantrum, then why would I stop a child from doing that? And things just really changed in my life as a child care provider. And listening to, getting the staff to take turns listening to each other in the guise of, we got a problem here. Why don't we pair up and just share how we feel about it, and then we'll talk about it as a full staff. And we came up with marvelous solutions to what had been sticky problems. So the ability to listen to children, listen, as Maya described, gave me such satisfaction and joy. And it wasn't always easy. There were times that I thought, oh my gosh, am I doing the wrong thing? I stopped a child, came in the doors from outside, threw his coat on the floor. And I said, oh, let's pick that up, and put my hand gently on his back, let's pick that up. An expectation limit set. And he just arched his back, threw himself backwards. I caught him, thank goodness, and had a huge tantrum. And, and he's telling me how awful I am, that I stink. He's not the one who told me I had BO. Someone else told me that. But this very big cry. And then afterwards, he was chipper and cooperative, and it was a huge change. But while it was happening, I'm like, and the other staff are watching me. But then they were like, okay, what did you do? I want to know what you know, because that was a big change for this little guy. So when I became a college instructor, I was so excited to share these tools, because I knew that I could plan out a curriculum and an environment and set things up so children could self-select things and learn, and everything's developmentally appropriate. But when a child's behavior went off track, everything could go down the tubes. And if I knew to stop a child's off-track behavior, or to expect something of them, that things would shift if they could have this big cry. So I was excited to teach teachers. Well, of course, I had to teach them curriculum development, health, safety, and nutrition. What are all the courses? There's so many courses in early childhood education in a degree program. But I infused every course with respect for children, respect for families, and respect for yourself as an educator, with the need to be listened to as an early childhood professional, and then the tools of listening, and were certainly key in the guidance and discipline course. And I also taught what we call the starter course, or the professionals intensive, as a quarter-long course for the early childhood degree program. And I had a practicum called Playing Responsively, where I was teaching how to use special time. And it was so exciting what different teachers would figure out. I had a first grade teacher who figured out to do a special time for the first 10 minutes of lunch, one child at a time, till she got through her whole classroom. She said it changed her life. My husband works at the same school where she works now. And she tells him every time she sees him, which isn't often, but Shelley changed my life. Like, wow. But she took in the tools, observed what happened with her children, and has used these tools for the rest of her, as she teaches. So my early childhood education degree program students over and over expressed surprise and delight at learning what they were hoping for all along, to have tools to handle things when things fell apart. And then you can get things back on track. And those marvelous plans you made, the children start to enjoy and cooperate. And you learn from the children what they need, and then you follow their lead. And They learn to do special time with children. They stay listened. They set limits. Oh, and I have to tell you one last thing, that the director of a program where I got to teach all of the staff, well, except one or two, but it was a small program, about 9 staff. I got to teach them the professionals intensive course, and they were using it. And what the director said, who had taken the course earlier, said, it is so much happier. There's so much more laughter at the center now. It is so much more fun to come to work. So there are great riches in this work for us as professionals, and I am eager to share more with you, but I'm going to turn it over to Maya.
Great. Thank you both. Oh my gosh, it's so great to listen to both of you. I love it. So, well, I can talk a little bit about, you know, using these tools in a therapeutic context and also in a preschool context. So, I'm a clinical child psychologist and was working with parents and children together. And had primarily a home-based practice. So I was actually working with parents and children together right at home to bring these tools on board. And I would say about 95% of what I was doing with parents and children was bringing these hand-in-hand tools on board. And the way I actually framed the work with families was actually through special time. So I was meeting with families at home, and we were meeting to do special time. And so it was the very first thing that we would do when I arrived was we were offering special time to the child. And you can really see everything in special time. It's like, that is the quickest way to get to know somebody, to get to see, you know, where challenges are, where good connections are, you know, to see the relationship between parents and children. It's like such a rich experience. But the thing that I really love about it is that the child is in charge. That's what we're starting with. And so, you know, I would show up to somebody's house, and the way I described, you know, to kids what I was doing, who this person was who was arriving, is that I help parents play better with their children. And you know, I was not, you know, going in and doing clinical interviews with the kids, or, you know, it was like we were moving right into, they got to just lead the play. And there was one little kid who I really, who was so great. He started calling me the special time wizard. So when is the special time wizard coming? So, you know, I just really appreciated this tool for sort of structuring our time together. And it was also really helpful because there was so much to sort of debrief about from these special times with parents. So I would do time with parents and children together, and then I would meet with parents, and we would talk about, you know, what was that like to be connecting in this way? What was it like to be playing, to offer this kind of attention? And it's like everything comes up for us in special time. It's like all those feelings about, well, nobody ever played with me in this way, or, you know, like if I did that, I would have gotten, you know, really nailed for that. Or, you know, I can't stand the idea of like playing this game one more time. Like all of our feelings come up in special time. And so that structure for parents where we could talk about that, what's happening for you, what kinds of supports are you needing there, and parents can really see their children in certain ways in special time that sometimes it's hard to do without that kind of structured, focused time. So, one parent commented to me after, after bringing that on board at home, and we had our follow-up, session, like 2 weeks later, and he said, "It is really amazing what my child is showing me about themselves. Like, I'm really getting to know them and all of these things about them." And it was like, it's a simple setup, but it's really amazing. How children use that time, what they bring into that time, and what you can notice and appreciate as a parent. And so special time for me was really like the frame in all of the work that I did with parents, but also bringing in all of the other tools. So always talking about the stay listening piece, because it's this kind of time where children feel the attention, the presence of their parents, um, that like makes room for all those feelings, things that haven't sat right, or things that they've been sort of carrying around, and all of those feelings bubble up, and kids are looking for support and assistance with those things, and helping parents you know not feel like they have to get so busy sort of stopping the emotion having. Really recognizing that actually these emotional processes are the mechanisms by which children heal from hard things that have happened to them. They offload the tensions, they clear their mind, and that the crying, the tantruming even, that's not the problem. That's the reset process where their emergency response systems get reset. And recognizing sort of all of those processes, not as sort of negative outcomes, but as there's some real healing happening here. And I'll talk about like that piece in working in schools also. So lots of the kids that I worked with would come to me because of difficulties in preschool. And I have a background in special education, learning disabilities, and so was often consulting with teaching teams, working with that child's school, as well as working with parents at home. And usually kids were coming to me because they had arrived in preschool and they were hitting their friends, or they were having regulatory challenges where they were just having lots of feelings. And that's when they would call in a psychologist. Often these were children where those feelings, those behaviors were meaning they were being asked to leave preschool programs. They were being expelled, and there is quite a lot of that happening. And so I would come in and be able to talk with teaching teams about how to bring some of these supports on board at school. And at school you are working with tiny chunks of time during kind of critical transitions. You're working with 2-3 minutes where you might be able to bring some of these really powerful connection tools on board. And so often, I would be working with teachers to think about, these transition times when kids are arriving at school, when, the activities are changing in the classroom, when it's time to head out to the playground, and figuring out where can we build in some of these connection tools in that 2 to 3 minutes. And it is actually amazing how powerful that is, to make room for emotion having before you're moving into sort of, the regulatory strategies that are really, pervasive in classrooms. This is often, we're focused on helping kids develop self-regulatory strategies, or, ideally co-regulatory strategies where they're connecting with their adult. But there's an incredible benefit to just making a little room for the emotion having before you need to move into some kind of regulation. And so stay listening um, actually has been really powerful for teachers when they can sort of say, all right, just going to take 2 minutes here. My co-teacher is kind of, generally has the rest of the class on board here. I'm literally going to stop and just for 2 minutes listen before then, the next part of the classroom routine happens, or the next strategy. And one classroom, we were working with a teacher in a Head Start classroom, and she went through this professionals intensive, and it was really this stay listening tool that that they took on board, really comprehensively throughout the day. What they had previously in their classroom was one of those cool down zones, little calm down area. In their classroom, it was called the alone zone. So kids would go and, hang out there and try and use some self-regulatory strategies, which didn't work super well. So what they did instead is they turned the alone zone into a stay listening place. So teachers would go in with kids during that time. They would also set up particular special times in that area. Really, these were max 5-minute special times, but they were really, really powerful. And that's where they would happen. So this one little girl in the classroom that had arrived and was having so many just challenges, knocking other kids' projects over, just having lots of feelings, big tantrums, all these kinds of things happening. So they just decided, all right, we're gonna have somebody be with her. We're not gonna try and have her manage this on her own. When things bubble up, we'll head into the alone zone with her. They proactively put in, really, it was like 5 minutes of special time a day for, a couple weeks. And it was unbelievable kind of what happened for this child and for the classroom. So the alone zone became so popular, they had to set up 2 alone zones in the classroom. and this child, who had been knocking kids' stuff over and like having such a hard time, was no longer doing that. I mean, surprisingly, actually no longer having those challenges, and was offering other kids special time in the dramatic play area. And it's like, when you see that, when you see kids like really know what this is and pass it on to other kids, it's just really, really powerful. So, I mean, we could talk all day about like amazing stories, but what is so amazing to me is how powerful these tools are, how effective, and also how efficient. It's like, in all of these settings, there are limits on how much time, or how much one-on-one time you can get, and it's like, it's amazingly powerful, even these small little chunks of connection, and building those in, and resourcing parents to bring these tools on board at home, because there's different kind of room, to use these tools at home too. And when everybody in a child's life has access to these tools, it's such an amazing support for kids, to have teachers and their pediatricians and their speech language pathologists and their families, like, just knowing about these connection tools. So that's what I'll say, but I think we can yeah, we can move into some Q&A here. We have about 10 minutes. So some questions have been coming in on the chat. I don't know if you've been keeping track of those, Shelley.
Pams, thank you so much, Maya. That was wonderful. I hear new stories every time we do this from these two brilliant women. Pam was going to respond to one of the questions. Go ahead.
Let's see. Let me open it. Where do I have it? No, I don't have.
Q&A?
There, it's blank. Mine is blank.
Not
Well,
Q&A.
you do
No,
the
let me
answer.
look.
Go to
let
the
me look.
answers tab.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, Nikita, you wanted to know whether there was a recording, and yes, there absolutely is a recording. So, and that will be available to people who have registered. You'll be sent a link. We would strongly welcome you to sign up for the Professionals Intensive, which will start soon. That the Professionals Intensive happen periodically through the year, and it's an 8-week experience for those of us that are working with parents and children in our work. There are hours of video tapes, video recordings, a lot of reading, and we cover each one of the listening tools each week. So you get to read about it, watch something about it, try it, and then come to a mentoring call with me or Shelley or Robin. And if we have too many people, we might even draft Maya to do another call as well. And there are a variety of times offered. And the mentoring call, during the mentoring call, we get to share our experiences. We get to say what we tried, what we learned, what doesn't make sense. We get to ask questions, learn from each other. And we definitely do a listening circle on the call, and we help people to set up listening partnerships within the Professionals Intensive group. The groups are small. We limit them to a total of 6 on the call. And the call is an hour and a half long. So it really does give us a chance to get to know each other more deeply than you can sort of imagine. By the end of week 8, none of us want to part. And we're looking at how we can maintain some of these connections. Listening partnerships go on for years, and people go on with hand in hand as they choose. So you can find out about the Professionals Intensive on the website, and we look forward to you all signing up. We'd love to have you. Is there another question?
Yeah, Pam, in the Q&A, Vicki asked, I have some questions about special time. What if the child asks for special time all the time? And what if the child does something that breaks rules? How do we set limits during special time? Thanks.
Oh, great. Really good question, Nikki. Well, in a family or in a regular setting where special time at school, or as Maya has described, the ultimate is it is special time, period. And when that young one asks for more from the parents, it's great to schedule it. So when we finish special time, do we know it's going to happen every Wednesday when I get home from school, or every Saturday morning I get special time, so that it's something they can count on, and we can remind them, oh, we can't do it right now, and we are on the schedule for such and such. And the other is for when there's high need, given the ebb and flow of family life, sometimes 3 minutes every morning can change the whole tone of getting ready for school or leaving for school. So that, getting dressed, oh my goodness, I remember getting children dressed in the morning, and gosh, just 3 minutes of special time, then 5 minutes of special time, helping do things that they really knew how to do, but there was something that shifted if I did it with them and for them delightedly. So if there's a high need, sometimes it's worth it to put the time in. As Maya described, it's so efficient. Um, 3 to 5 minutes invested in special time can save a half an hour of a really messy departure that doesn't end well. And we set limits during special time the same way we bring limits. We love the idea of bringing limits because we bring ourselves to the limit of it's warm, it's firm, it might be playful. When we bring a limit to a child's behavior, no, it's not okay to write on the wall with a crayon. You can see the crayon, you see them eyeing the wall, you can see them heading toward it. So I just get between them and the wall, and no, this is special time, but that doesn't mean you can write on the wall. And as Maya described what our attention's like, when my attention is really good and I can do that with a smile and I can be relaxed, it sometimes brings laughter. When I'm tense and I really don't want them to do it, and I bring the limit like that and they laugh, then I don't think it's funny at all. So where I have attention really does, it's worth noticing. And the lighter we can be and the warmer and the tender but firm, and then listening. So yeah, good questions, Nikki. Thank you.
And I like the idea of sort of saying yes, but making it safe. So, so a child comes up with something in special time, I want to leap off the top of the bunk bed. And that's not a safe setup the way you have it. So to be able to say like, oh my gosh, that sounds super fun. Let's figure out if we can make that safe. Maybe it's they're jumping into your arms and you're catching them right there, or maybe you have 3 other mattresses that you stack up underneath, or the idea is not that you sort of have to do it when they propose something that is safe or is going to cause a lot of damage and be expensive to fix. It's like, but you go with their thought, you go with what they're wanting to explore, and like, oh man, let's figure out if we can make that safe. And the limits in special time are around around safety. Like you're really setting safety limits, there. You're not letting kids get hurt or cause more damage than than you're willing to pay for as part of it. So that does come along with it. You can also decide sort of where special time happens. So this is often the case in school. So special time happens here in this special time center over here, so that you're not continuously having to set limits around, well, they're actually working with that material, or nope, we can't pull this out now. One of the things you decide is when special time is happening, how long it's happening for, and where. So yeah, you can sort of engineer in some safety there.
So we have about 2 minutes left, and we have 3 beautiful questions that we're not going to be able to answer, but I promised Isabella I would answer the question about for the transition that involves the car that you're having, you have to drive away. Time is the hardest. Any thoughts about setting up a calm down time for these transitions, like pick up from school or other activities? And I've got a quick answer for you. My daughter, who had always loved her car seat, suddenly didn't want to get in when we went to school. And I asked Patty it was so frustrating. She would cry and arch her back. And I asked Patty, and she said, Shelley, set things up so you leave half an hour earlier. Get up half an hour. I'm like, oh, you're kidding. But I did. And the job was to listen to her and keep saying, we're going to get in the car seat now. And it wasn't calm down time. It was actually let these big feelings come out time, like once and for all. And she had this huge cry. And as she stopped crying, I would sort of gently start putting her back in the car seat, and she would cry hard. And truly, the first time it took a half an hour. And then miraculously, she let me strap her in, and she talked all the way to school. And then the next day we went, it was every other day. it was only 15 minutes, same thing. We're going to get in the car seat now. And every time it calmed down, I'd put her further toward the seat and she'd cry hard again. And then it took 3 times. And then the car seat was okay. Now, had I known to do a few minutes of special time in the morning, that would have helped too. But whatever, you use these tools as a parent creatively to help your children go through these hard times of life. There are a couple more questions about special ed, teaching on an online platform, yes, and also a question of working with children with autism and special time. We have, the tools are so useful. Look on the website for a slew of excellent free articles about a topic you're interested in, parents' experiences, teachers' experiences. You'll get lots and lots of clues. And of course, join us for the Professionals Intensive if you possibly can, this time or another time, because we really get to delve into all of these questions. And you have the resource of other professionals thinking with us and you. Pam, you have a wrap up for us?
I just want to say thank you, Shelley, for leading us and organizing us, and Maya for your invaluable input as always, and to all of you participants for your commitment to children, to parents, and to being professionals to make a difference in families' lives. We are building the future that we envision. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.